The San Onofre Nuclear Power Plant stopped producing power for the San Diego region 2 years ago. A small radiation leak forced the shutdown, which became permanent last summer. A 4-part investigation by the State Public Utilities Commission is now underway into responsibilities and cost. We invited a representative of Southern California Edison to join us. They declined a request for a statement. But Ray Lutz, a member of the Coalition to Decommission San Onofre, agreed to talk with us about the situation today. Ray, welcome to Evening Edition.
Thank you very much.
Now, the state is trying to figure out who should pay for the cost involved in the effort to repair San Onofre and the shutdown. Where does that investigation stand right now?
Well, we're in the middle of a number of phases. There's phase one, which we've had a proposed decision for that, and they went back and said we want to review that some more because apparently the utility thought they were being hit up too hard. Phase two, we've just gotten through the end of that first process, and we haven't gotten any decision on that yet.
And what does that involve?
That involves whether the owners, the investors, would get compensated for their investment and make a profit on it, which is what they want to do, just as if the thing was completely profitable.
And
then phase three, they're going back in time to try to figure out if the steam generator replacement project was prudent and reasonable to begin with. And actually, you think that should have been done first. That's our position, because then a lot of the things we're talking about now may be moot. You don't have to talk about it if it wasn't reasonable to do it to begin with. And
you said stage 4 is rather boring.
Stage 4 is rather boring, and they may not ever get to that. And actually, I'd have to review exactly what they're doing, because the details of each one of these phases are mind-boggling in terms of what's in it, what isn't in it, and so forth.
Okay. Well, I do want to say that the CPU, as you were talking about, California Public Utilities Commission, did issue that proposed decision to refund at least $94 million to customers for one part of the shutdown. But has that proposed decision been actually finalized?
No, it's not done yet. It was going to go before the commission in January, and they put that off at least until February. As I said, the utility doesn't want to have to do the refunds. Remember, we're still paying for this plant as if it was running. And so we think it's high time for them to turn off the money and say, look, we think that it's time to stop paying for this plant as if it was used and useful, and now go back and review it later instead of the other way around.
Well, what is Southern California Edison's argument that ratepayers should pick up most of this cost?
Well, their argument is that in some plants, they say they go on for a long time, like a hydroelectric dam. They say we put that in, and that goes on producing power for a long period of time, and the investors don't get any compensation for that long period of time. So they say that even if a plant is bad, we still want to be compensated for it and get a return on our investment plus all of our money back, just as if it was operating correctly. And unfortunately, we think this is bad policy because it encourages the utility to engage in bad projects. And so there's what they did during 2012. Did they act reasonably during the shutdown dilemma, whether they want to restart or not? We think a lot of the things they did there were incorrect. And then there's the 2013, and whether the investors get their money back. There's a lot of things that we think are done incorrectly there. They say 23% of the plant is still going to be used and useful in the future to deal with cooling the fuel. We think it's more like 7.5% of the plant is going to be used. So that's the kind of differences we're arguing about.
Overall, do we know how much money is at stake, especially when it comes to the shutdown cost?
The shutdown costs, the amount of money at the stake is that we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. And it's hard to say, where it's going to go higher or lower based on what the arguments are going to be. They want to get about something like $4 billion. Remember, the investors have already made their money back on the plant years ago.
Right.
And they still want to make back a few more billions of dollars to put back into their pockets.
Ted Craver, CEO of Southern California Edison, told the Orange County Register that Edison will submit its decommissioning plans to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in a few months, including updated cost estimates. As far as this decommissioning plan, how long will that take?
Well, that's a totally different thing. The decommissioning is different from the events that happened during the outage,
sure,
and that's under a different proposal. But it is required to take less than 60 years. Arnie Gunderson, who we was just talking to earlier, mentioned that it should take less than around 10 years if you want to actually do it expeditiously. So that's, I think they're going to try to grind up the plant and remove it and take it back to its original state fairly quickly.
Which is the law. It must be returned to its original
within
state.
60 years, though,
right.
which is a very long time. However, the problem is the spent fuel still will exist on site. It has to stay in the fuel pools and have recirculating pumps for about 5 to 12 years, and then it's going to go into what they call an ISFSI, an independent spent fuel storage installation, which is going to be on site. And the current plan is to just leave the spent fuel there basically indefinitely, because there is no place to put the spent fuel. We don't think that really the public signed up for this. We didn't sign up for indefinite spent fuel storage on the site.
Well, we'll definitely be following this up as it progresses. Ray Lutz, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.